Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it gives me great pleasure in welcoming you all once again to a webinar session of Burjeel Geojit Financial Services and QBG Geojit, our joint venture partner from Muscat. So we have clients from both UAE and Muscat who are in this webinar. This is a webinar that we are trying out. This is probably the first time we are doing a session on technical analysis, which is something that many of our clients have been talking to us over the last few weeks, because in the last 2 months we have seen a good amount of volatility in the markets. Markets have moved tangentially up and down to a great extent. If you see from it has just taken about 100 to 120 days for us to recover the all-time low of March 24th. So with volatility in place and with the sort of the news flow that is happening today as to how the future is going to be there for the next 6 to 9 months, I think we are in very poised in interesting times where there would be strength based on fundamental strengths of company will also be a key factor. But one of the factors that will also drive the market is going to be the technical and the trends that one needs to watch out. What used to be long ago, people used to just start technical analysis meant looking at moving averages to a great extent, and then it was some charts. But it has evolved into a great art and science now, that it is with the amount of data flow that is happening, the interpretation of the charts and the trends is becoming very key, and believe me, it is becoming quite successful also. The success rates of technical analysis also very high nowadays compared to what it used to be much earlier, maybe about say 10-15 years ago. In order to take us through this educative session on technical analysis, we have a veteran among us, Mr. Anand James. Anand has more than 15 years of experience in financial markets, including equities, currencies, commodities, and derivatives. He's a certified financial technician. Anand holds an MBA as well as a BTech degree. At Geojit, Mr. Anand James heads the research team that provides investment advice in stocks, indices, commodities, currencies, and their futures and options, applying advanced technical and derivative analysis. He writes on equity markets in India and on gold, and is regularly quoted on Economic Times, Money Control, Reuters, Forbes, etc. Thank you very much, Mr. Anand, for taking your time off to be with our clients today. And I'm sure this is going to be an interesting and educative session to all of us. As we have the normal process, Mr. Anand will speak for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we will open up the floor for Q&A. Please note that this time around, since this is something more of an educative session, we have disabled the chat facility. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A segment or that option that is there on your screens. Mr. Anand, after he concludes the sessions, he will pick up a few questions and he will guide you through. Let me tell you that this is the first step that we are taking on this, and in case that there is a need or a requirement to do this on a regular basis, I'm sure we will see how we can take this forward. With these few words, I welcome Mr. Anand again, and Mr. Anand, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was quite an elaborate introduction for me. I'm humbled. In fact, I'm not very sure whether this would be treated as a dry subject or not, because most of the guys might be especially for you, it might be the trading. Even if you call it trading, it might be from an investment point of view. So I think, as I was saying, this was a first session of similar kind. Thank you for the opportunity, Burjeel Geojit. It's an opportunity because it is important even for technical analysts like us to interact with investors and understand their requirement, their mindset, share ideas. That it's a unique opportunity for analysts as well, and that is also the fundamental point, which is the technical analysis is rooted on the same. Now, with that introduction, I would like to take a couple of seconds to look at where market is. Now, from a point prior to March 23rd, we were looking at the potential for a Nifty breaching below the 7,800 mark, and probably levels of 6,400 levels were being spoken about, or that was immediate objective at that point. And from March 23rd onwards, we had seen market reversing, and what a rise it has been, a meteoric rise, and we still don't know if this is a peak or we are going to have a collapse. From March 20th onwards, markets have risen, say, to almost 11,000. And what we can say, the characteristics of this move has been that I've not seen many people talking about losses as yet, but I did see people talking about lost opportunity. I also saw people speaking about uh, grabbing multi-baggers or who have been participating in the market at least from 8,900, 9,000 level. It is not easy for people to, pick the bottom, or I have not found people who have actually picked the bottom per se in the present rally. There have been people close to it, but at least from 9,000 onwards, 9,000 level onwards, there have been people who have been very actively following the trend that is on the upside. So let's say from 9,000 to almost 11,000 region, a 2,000 point has been picked by some of the people, and for some people, it has been a complete miss. Why this is so? This is not a unique thing. This has been happening since time immemorial. We have seen people taking either side. But what separates people from who are benefiting from the market move and who are not? Let's keep apart people who are not making losses. We're looking at people who are benefiting from it and who are not, who have stayed on the sidelines, or who have limited their exposure so that their earnings have been on the lower side. I would say it is about money management, it is about risk management, and that is partly where technical analysis comes in. Uh, and one intro comment also. I've been told that this is a novel concept, and most of the investors in Burjeel are not trading from an intraday point of view, which means the question comes up, because then the general concept is technical analysis is used for intraday trading or fast-based trading, or let's say algorithmic trading, or people, or from a jobbing. So how does this appear important from an investor's point of view? We will look at all these points, touch through all these points. One thing I'm not very sure about is the knowledge base of the investor. I'm not very sure from this point of view, because for every group you'll see people who are very good about a particular topic, some who are novices, and some who are advanced. I believe that is the case with this too. I think some of the investors would be quite novices, but the idea that has been given to me is that largely this needs to be seen from an introductory point of view, that basics needs to be covered. Largely constructed my PPT along that idea, but we will also reserve the Q&A session to handle a couple of advanced questions. Meanwhile, I've also packaged some relevant aspects that you can take home. With that in mind, let me take you through. I'll share my screen now. I hope this is visible now. Baiju, my screen is visible, right? I hope it is visible now.
Yes, yes, it is.
Right, okay. With that in perspective, I would like to take you to the mental makeup of a trader. You shouldn't typecast an investor as a trader or a speculator or investor as that. But let's say, to warm up to the idea of technical analysis and the analysis approaches that you normally take, I'm just hand-holding you through the normal thought processes that an investor has during a normal stage of a downturn and an uptrend. Just to warm up, let's say an investor is positive about a commodity or a stock, and he is keen on buying it. You see a dip, something like this, and he is bought into that stock. So he has read enough, he is positive on that particular stock, and he has bought into that stock. And after buying, the stock commodity goes up a little bit. He is happy. And there is a dip happening. He is not worried because he is still, the price is still above the entry level. And then it takes a slightly sharper dip. And that's a point when the investor starts to think if the decision that I've taken, whether that is right or not. Did I get the right information? Did I get the right entry? That's a point wherein a lot of negative thought comes to his mind. And he decides in the next uptrend, I will get out. So this is a first change in thought processes that you can see when markets have taken a turn. And then usually what happens is after some time, market takes one more slippage, and that establishes his thought that the decision he has taken initially was wrong, but he doesn't want to get out at a loss. Now, this is a point where you are beyond logic. You are not thinking about things in a rational point of view. Now it is about money management and the usual, the way in which people react to a loss is not bearable. When you compare with profit, you exit it normally a smaller profit due to a variety of reasons anyway. But this is a usual thing. We believe that happiness or a profitable position may not last for long. So let me take it fast. But it's the opposite in the case of loss-making positions or pain. You believe that this is something that I cannot take much more. So let me wait for a little bit and then I'll get out when it moves up. But that is not the way how markets behave. You see that in the next move, you see a small uptrend, but again, you think that it's okay. Now it is very close to a small profit. Let me wait for some time and I'll take the profit and then only exit. So I just want to give you an idea as to how our mind works. It's not the case of only a few investors. Even a trained an investor or an analyst will also go through these kind of emotions. The next move, the market would be a major downtrend, and that's a point when you are destined to your fate. And this is a thought: it is too late to sell now, and the market continues to fall steeper and steeper. Uh, let's say markets have halved now. What is the first point? You have not sold any, you have not cut your losses. Now you think about this as a heck of a buying level. You're thinking about averaging. We also get a lot of queries like this, whether queries from customer care or staff responding to client queries because their positions are almost half. They've got it at higher levels. Can they average so that their loss-making positions buying level can be lifted higher? And this is a point where you're confused, but you're not at a point to buy again. And the market continues to fall. And that is a point when even the broker also starts. You see a lot of reports coming in. You see even the margin calls coming in. You prompt the investor, or the investor also believes that this is a point, okay, this is it. I need to get out of the market. And it is at the pessimistic best that you see markets turning now. It doesn't require an analyst to understand that. You also know this is the case, but when it is your position, it is difficult to decide on that. And that is how markets behave. Markets start to turn a little bit, and there is also a consolidation because you don't see a vertical rise happening because there is opposite forces, or you have strong buyers, strong sellers happening. And since markets have taken a small dip, you begin to think that this is more of a selling level and any buy. So this is the best opportunity I can get. But it again comes back now, and your thought process is, okay, it is not a sell nor a buy. This is a trading range. This is a sideways market, but this has come to a buying level. Let's start buying now. So all the losses of this point, he has forgotten. He is now a reformed man, a changed man. Now he's on the buying side again. He's forgotten about all the losses, and now he's starting to buy. But there is one thought uh, in the back of his mind, because the losses of this period is still at the back of the mind. And even though he has taken a little bit of profit, he wants to outsmart the market. How does he do that? He takes some profit. and he turns into a selling position. And that is when markets start to rise again. And you think that if it comes to the break-even point, you'll cover. That doesn't happen. It moves higher, and you can see that the exact reverse of what happened while he was long. That happens when you are on the short side too. I just want to give you an understanding. This is a very common thing that happens. This happens to even the seasoned analysts. It is very difficult to suppress human behavior, but even though a lot of analysis, even though I were to show you this to n number of investors, and after this presentation too, even if you were to very closely follow the mistakes that has been shown here, I think you and me are going to make the same mistakes again and again. This is ingrained in our decision-making system, and that is the basis of technical analysis. The technical analysis looks at how we respond to particular pain or particular fear and greed kind of situations. And so having said that, now I have structured my presentation in two parts. First part is about introducing technical analysis. Now, as I said, my assumption at the start of my assumption before preparing this presentation was that most of the investors joining in could be new to this topic. So I have restricted myself to most of the basics. But in the second half, I have included some practical aspects as to how you can look at a couple of patterns, chart patterns, indicators, and incorporate that into your decision making. So technical analysis, this is the general understanding. What you have is, you have, before that, I think I should, for the sake of very new investors, I should, I think, show you how a chart looks like before getting into the PPT. I think this is also visible. This is a chart of Nifty. Just to introduce you how a chart looks like, you have, I think the chart may not be new to you. You might be encountering similar kind of charts in your daily life, if you're on the account side or in the presentation side, management, MI side. I think these kind of charts are not, I mean, a chart asset is not new to you. What you have here is the price of a particular script or an index. I have put
excuse me, it's not visible. Here. It's not visible. The chart is not visible.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted to give you a basic idea about how a chart looks like. I put the candlestick here and drawn a couple of lines. I'll explain what a candlestick is and what a trend line is later in the presentation. But just wanted to give you, or those people who are new to the, a charters, this is how it looks like. It is scaled on the basis of time. You have, say, on the bottom you have the time, March, April, May 20. So on the right extreme, you have the latest data. You can put different kind of indicators as an overlay on the chart. That is, this is the price that you see. On top of that, you can put a couple of indicators, be it, say, oscillators, moving average, things like that. See, you need to look at an example that I can tell you is when you go to a doctor, assuming that you have a fever, he gives you a diagnosis just on the basis of, it's a clinical diagnosis. He might look at you, ask you a couple of questions, and then he might make a presumption about your health. And then he asks you to take a blood work, and because you want to go a level deeper into the analysis. That is when you put these kind of averages, because this price is what you can compare it to as a clinical diagnosis. What you can see is a price. But what is underneath, you might have to look at a volume on a particular day to see if your preliminary understanding of a price movement is right or not. For example, you can see that prices have been falling during this trend. If you compare with volume, I'm just saying and giving you an example. When you look at the volume, and see that there is volume also increasing, it means that more people are participating in the downtrend, which means the downtrend might be there for some more time. So my point here is, you need to, it is not only the price that you normally look at, you look at other indicators, other underlying factors that are also go hand in hand with the price movement to get deep understanding. So basically, this is how we look at, and this is how we analyze on a day-to-day basis. Let me get to the chart again. Having said that, now the next point is, how is technical analysis perceived now? The general understanding of investors is that this is used to forecast future price movement. Forecasting is a main use of technical analysis, and it is using historic volume price data. This is one of the major criticism as opposed to other forms of study like fundamental analysis or factorial analysis or maybe quantitative other data. You're looking at historical data, something that has happened in the past. How can you use that to judge future performance? How can you take a say, make a say on, let's say, a good CEO making a good decision? How can you make a say on an unexpected movement happening in the future, just on the basis of some patterns, some shapes, some data that has happened in the past? So this is one criticism. Then you have a lot of shapes, a lot of mathematical indicators, Fibonacci ratios, etc., which is being all mathematical, statistical thing. Sometimes it gets complicated. And as I said, analysis tools, like these patterns indicators, Fibonacci ratios, being technical or being statistical, can be used across asset classes. That is the same charting tool that I show you. That is actually Reuters. We use Bloomberg also, both in our department. Similar Bloomberg or Reuters, these charting patterns can be used for commodities, bonds, currencies. So it doesn't matter which asset class we are using, but this is not the case with other analysis, because you need different approach for analyzing different kind of situations. What if you have a price data and similar kind of volume data or historical data? That is all you need for your software to run a technical analysis. This is the general understanding of technical analysis. And obviously the criticism is that you don't know how accurate it is. The patterns may be difficult to identify or interpret, and whether this needs to be seen as a separate study or should we use it as a complementary approach to fundamental or similar kind of study. So that brings us to the question, how is fundamental analysis perceived? This is my understanding, because I think you might be better fundamental analyst than me, because you might be reading a lot of news than me. I don't usually look at news because I look at the movement per se. Now, what is fundamental analysis? You look at the financial ratios, you look at price earning figures, book value, price to book value, EBIT, P&L, and analyze the company analysis, industry analysis, macro analysis, all those things. You analyze whatever news that is coming in and the industry that it is in. So basically, it's about finding an intrinsic value or the comparisonness, or you're making a decision as to whether the current market price is overvalued or undervalued when you compare it with its intrinsic value. So as such, in short, you can say that as opposed to technical analysis, I can say that we can say that this is more descriptive and more reasoning is involved. And that is also the reason why the logical man is more attracted to, at least primarily, the logical man is more attracted to a fundamental way of studying a market, because it applies to his rationale. It applies to his way of understanding the nature. That is asking questions, getting answers, making a informed decision, and acting on it. Now, I would like to hold that thought and look at one. Yeah. This is a research report which was released by a broking house, a research house. On May 20th, the stock was Indigo. Obviously, for you sitting in the Gulf area, know how important the airlines industry has been. During the January through April-May period, internet has been abuzz with a lot of news regarding aviation industry cracking under the pressure of lack of demand and potential that this industry may not see revival in a long time because of obviously the COVID situation. And without, I mean, this was not without reason anyway. Any straight thinking people would have understood that. And during March-April period also, we have seen every other country coming out with a ban, a travel ban or things like that. Even our country also followed, which means it was very straight or no, very straight way of thinking to imagine that Indigo should continue to move lower. This report had come out on May 20th, and the price at that point was 900. And now I'll just briefly take you through the thought process or the rationale that was put forward. Apart from, this is something that I'm just reading out. The suspension of air travel following the outbreak of COVID has induced a high degree of uncertainty in the airlines business. And the reason is the timelines of resumption for passenger operations are still uncertain. And even if it were to resume, we expect that the operations could remain sparse and under crippling restrictions due to social distancing norms. So you are predicting what could happen because of what we have now, that is social distancing norms. And you can see that first part I've already underlined, an uncertainty. And amidst uncertainty, this fundamental approach has taken the view that the prevailing situations could continue, and that's the reason for downgrading the price. And I'll take you to the chart of Indigo. Yeah, you can see I have circled Indigo's price of May 20th, and on May 20th, the price was 900 near about. It have 926 and low of 900. And from the next day onwards, market started rising. Now, this is not a statement on how good or bad that particular analyst was. This is not a statement on how right or wrong a fundamental approach is. This is a statement on why such kind of surprises happen. See, this happens for technical analysis as well, any form of study. So making a decision on a future price, you're bound to go wrong. You might be right. If you're lucky, you're right. If you're not very lucky, you might be very wrong. Or let's say if you're lucky, you will not be either right or wrong. But what you have seen now was exact reversal from the next day onwards, and market went on to rise almost 35% from there in the span of, let's say, almost 10 days. It hit a high of 1210 level before obviously consolidating. Why this surprise is happening is a main question, is a main thought I would like you to take you through. Let us go back to our presentation. My feeling is the reason why these kind of surprises happen is market continues to continually try for attaining an equilibrium. There is a continuous fight between demand and supply. There's a continuous fight between bulls and bears, a continuous fight between think tanks or intellectuals or mavericks sitting on either side of the market, be it sellers or buyers. So this search of equilibrium, since the fight is very intense, after a while, one particular side loses, and that opens a floodgate. That's the reason why, that is the reason why you usually see a major move after a period of consolidation. Second aspect is fundamental psychological factors or emotional factors which cannot be quantified is also an important factor in markets move. It is very difficult to make a call on what is not quantified. If you purely look at from a fundamental point of view, so what is intrinsic value? What the intrinsic value is one aspect, but how do you quantify and add the element of emotional factors, of psychological factors? You know, technical analysis, I don't mean to say that technical analysis steps into that gap, but I think it takes some solid steps to understanding that aspects which cannot be purely quantified. In short, my approach is that, this is purely my personal view, that fundamental analysis is mostly need to be seen as a statement of facts. Obviously, it takes a call on the basis of historical data as opposed to our initial understanding that it is usually the technical analysis that uses historical data. I would say that fundamental analysis uses historical as well as present data to a good extent. It's more of a statement of fact. It's more about stating why a particular move has happened already. It's about catering to your logical or rational mind. Where technical analysis comes on us, I view that as a study of motion. What is happening now? Will this move continue? What is a potential for an exhaustion person move? It is more about a study of motion. You could actually look at it from a physics point of view. And obviously, the more you practice, the more expert you become. Rather than taking a call on the basis of a couple of numbers and a couple of patterns, this requires a practice, just like, right. Now, this is not without criticisms. Obviously, technical analysis, it's not a finite subject. It is not a complementary subject. It is something that you use at a particular point of time. As an investor, our approach needs to be using the right form, using some studies, if it need be, as a complementary subject, but if it need be as the primary subject. Main criticism is that this is primarily used for speculators. I think the root of all the issues of such kind of criticism is we have a cognitive bias. We tend to look at things as black and white. You need something bad so that you can also understand something else as a good, or embrace that as a good thing. So one class of participants become investors, rest as speculators. In fact, it is a fact that the depth, the volume, the liquidity is provided by the speculators. Now, the speculator, put in another way, if you are taking on a view of a stock in the future, how can you call that as an investment? You are speculating that the management of that particular company will do good, or its fortunes will turn good because of industry changes or sectoral changes, etc., etc. Inevitably, you should be calling every trader as a speculator. Now, this is all. Another criticism is this is also only for a day trader and only for short term, and that the success percentage is not very clear. I think success percentage, let me get to the success percentage. It is a very easy or convenient way for normal or novice people to get a grip on whether on the quality of a research view or a technical analysis to look at is a success percentage. That's a very abstract term. It cannot be limited to a number as such, because investment, especially on the trading side, is more about money management. It is not about how many times you were right, but it's about how much you made when you were right. Even if you had failed 99 times about 100, if your losses were minimal during the 99 times, and your one move was a pick of, say, Nifty at 8,900, and you held on till 11,000 region, I think that is a successful way of trading. Now, the last point before I get to a couple of charts, and this is being used for cross asset. I mean, you can use it for commodities, you can use it for currencies, etc., etc. So this flexibility means that analysts or newbies coming, or let's say people, users without much experience, tend to face failures much easy, earlier than they assumed, because every asset, even though it can be used, every asset requires its own way of understanding, because commodities are usually trending assets. They have seasonalities. They have in the case of stocks, you have cycles happening, and in some cases some stocks go out of favor. The underlying nature of a stock might change. So stocks, commodities, currencies, they have characteristics that are very different from each other. This is not to say that the approach that you take for commodities cannot be taken for stocks, but there are slight nuances that need to be understood. And some other criticism is once once you are slightly familiar with the technical concepts, then you face a roadblock, or maybe you feel that you have hit a wall because some of the interpretations become difficult. I will draw one example here is there are good people, there are bad people. There are good doctors, there are bad doctors. Let's say, when do you become a doctor? I would say that you become a doctor when you pass an MBBS degree. You get a degree when you pass MBBS. You become a specialist when you take a specific exam, let's say MD, DM, things like that. When you study for that, when you pass that, you get an experience. Sorry, when you clear that, you become a specialist in a particular area. But when do you become a good doctor? You become a good doctor with experience. If that is the case with doctors, it's the case with any other profession. It's the case with technical analysis too. So on that note, let me take you through the building block of technical analysis. How is each price denoted in a chart? I think this is the most basics of thing. I think at least most of the investors might be familiar with this, but for the sake of beginners who are new to this, let me introduce them to the concepts of candlestick. Candlestick is a form of representing every day's price. How do you say where prices opened in the morning? How much did it go up in the day, and did it fall during the day? How do you plot all these things and form a history of the stock price movement? A candlestick is the answer to that. If you can see my stock cursor movement, you can see that there are blue and red candles. That is one difference. Second aspect is, you can call this a wick, let's say a shadow on the top as well as in the bottom. Then you have a body. So let me explain the first thing. You see this color difference because the red one denotes that the prices on that particular day was falling. How do you say it is falling? It means that prices closed below the opening price. Okay, that explains the color difference. The second difference is, the second aspect is, how do you know where it opened? If it is a blue or a green candle, it means that the lower level would be lowest part of the body would be the open. The highest part would be the close. So market opened at this level and closed at this level. But during the day, it also went up. This is the high. It also went down, right? So you have the low, you have the high, you have the open and close figures. You also know that at the end of the day, whether this was a negative day or a positive day. This is important thing. Apart from that, the size of the body, see, this is bigger than this. Both are of the similar thing. Both of them have handles. Both of them have shadows. So let's say wick. But the candle size is smaller here, which means the trading range of this day was big. Trading range of this day was small. That is a fact. Now the analysis is, market was very bullish on this particular day, but the candle's body being small, there was indecision. You saw a big peak here. That means market continued to move higher, but the high was not sustainable. So even though you have similar color here, even though you saw a positive close, this long wick, long shadow, and the small body is a suggestion that whatever trend we have seen here did face very stiff challenge here, and possibly reversal of the prior trend could be in store. Obviously, this kind of analysis needs a lot of affirmation, confirmation. You look at, just like I gave you the example of a doctor looking at blood work to go with or support the initial clinical diagnosis is taken. You look at other aspects too, but see, this is what happened. After that, you saw a red one, which means market reversed and it's continued to move here. So it has almost fallen to the level that is started from. So this is one way of, this is the preliminary or basic way of understanding candlestick. So having established this, there are different patterns, or depending on the position, the size of the body, the size of the wick, the color, or the form, or the formation, etc., we can derive more and more insights from candlestick chart pattern. I'm just going to handhold you through a couple of very simple candlestick patterns. Again, very basic one. This I've already discussed. I meant to say, so the same thing, you have a green one suggesting that this day was positive. I'm just repeating what I just said. This is a negative closed candle. It looks the same, but on this particular day, it had fallen down. This is open, this is a close. In a bullish candle, the lower one is open, the higher one is closed. This is a bullish candlestick, this is a bearish candlestick. Again, something is a very basic thing. You might be all sure about what a bull and bear is. I think I might be embarrassing you speaking about what a bull and bear is, but just to get because these are a concept that you need to be clear. A bull is about how it attacks the market. Bull always attacks with its horns. It throws people higher up. That's the reason why you call an uptrend a bull. And bear usually attacks with its claws. It hammers people down, and that's the reason why any fall down is usually called a bear. It's okay. You have a bearish candlestick denoting to a negative candle, and a bullish candlestick referring to a green candle. Yeah. Now I'm just quickly introducing you to a couple of very common candlestick pattern. Even though it is simple and even though it is common, it doesn't take away anything from its utility. I would say I have been, as Christian was saying, I've been in the market for 15 years, but after almost 15 years, in the last 6-9 months, I've been a heavy user of this candlestick, because I understood that just by adding too many of these indicators of pattern doesn't improve your decision-making skill. It's about being efficient. If efficiency or decision-making is your most important thing, I think you need to limit it to something more simple, but deepen your research on that. So from that point of view, let us look at very, very simple candlestick pattern, but equally effective. Now, I did mention at the start about candlestick body. What happens when the body is small? What does it mean? It means, one, the opening and closing price are relatively the same. That's a fact. That's what you can infer at first look. Now, what does it infer? That's a second level analysis is markets had a volatile day. There was a good, it had an evenly balanced day, because you can see that from this to low and from here to high is almost the same distance. Which means since the close was exactly in the middle, it means that it was an indecisive day. It meant the bulls, neither the bull nor the bear could not gain any dominance at the end of the day. So we are indecisive now. So this could be analyzed, or this could be acted upon from several angles. One, you could look at this as a possible form of reversal, but not confirmed. Next day, you need to confirm with either a continuation or a reversal pattern. But this is the first sign, whether if you are tight of money, and if you want to come out of your existing position, the sign of doji is a first signal that maybe you can reconsider your position. All right, so you have considered doji here. Doji as a candlestick pattern wherein open and close are at relatively the same places, and that is why you see the body being on the smaller side. But what if this line is at either the higher level or the lower level? They have opposite indications. It looks like this. If it happens, this line happening at the higher level, you call the dragonfly doji. Ignore the fancy name because these are all made up by the Japanese. Inferences made at that point of time, so a couple of centuries earlier, when it was built. So we will ignore the name, but it basically means that this could be potentially seen as a reversal in price. Why? Because let's say prices have been moving higher, and then you see it. Prices have been falling, and then you see that even though a significant low was made, it closed at the highest level, right? So there was indecision, but the stock having closed at the highest level, and this being a doji still, it's a confirmation that possibly the bear trend that has been happening prior to this is possibly coming to an end. So this is a suitable point wherein you can close out your bearish position. Since you are not a trader, the idea for you would be, if you have been looking at a particular stock which has been dear to you and which has been on a downtrend, and you were looking for a possible entry level to enter, and this kind of patterns might be one sign to start looking at it. On the opposite side, you have gravestone doji. If this pattern happens at the top of a particular trend, that is when you begin to, that is a sign that you could possibly think about exiting your position and probably take a sell position, the opposite of dragonfly. And this is an extension of what you have already discussed. Only difference is you have some more body here, but it's not a doji as such. Here also you have some body. If this happens at the bottom of a downtrend, it is called a hammer, and you can expect the prices moving higher. If that pattern happens, the hammer, the reverse of a hammer, if it happens at the top, it suggests that the uptrend that has been happening for so far is about to end and can be seen as a reversal sign, as a bearish reversal sign. Inverter hammer and shooting star, all similar kind of pattern. Rather than the body happening at the top, even if it happens at the bottom, if the positive close, and if it happens at the end of the downtrend, it's a sign of downtrend reversing. It's a bullish reversal. Similarly, this is a bearish reversal that you can see. Now, having said that, we have already looked at a couple of candlestick patterns. I've introduced you to a couple of them. There are n number of patterns. It depends on how you pick and choose your favorite candlestick pattern and build it in your trading system. That's the most important pattern. And now, let me also introduce you to a couple of patterns that you can use alongside, or that analysts usually use. You can see that the fundamental aspect for analyzing charts using patterns is ability to draw these kind of lines picking stock prices, and also the ability to identify patterns. So drawing is also very important. I'm not sure every guy, even if he's a good, even if he has a good brain, colors, shapes may not come to him quickly enough. So a good technical analyst should also have the ability to identify patterns. Identify patterns is important because you can see how these kind of levels act as a resistance. The resistances keep prices in a trading range, and once that is broken, that becomes a support, because once that is broken, it goes up and then comes back. This is the support region that so levels that were taken as a resistance point in the prior trend happens to be a new support region, and then another trading range happens. So before you look at a couple of trading patterns, it's very important to acknowledge the fact that for a good technical analyst or an investor who's looking to use pattern, he should be trained, he should get familiar with identifying patterns, not only understanding, identify patterns, should have the ability to draw this kind of straight line. Straight line is not very difficult because of why? Because for a novice, market will look like this. There will be n number of patterns. You will see quadrilateral, you will see a triangle, you see rectangles, you have straight lines, you have crisscross lines. This will be how a normal investor will see the chart as. So unless and until you gain the ability to draw straight lines, identify uptrend, downtrend, or sideways market as it is, that is a point wherein you can progress to looking at identifying patterns and make some sense out of it. As I just briefly mentioned, you have three kind of trends. Normally, as investors, we are normally looking at only uptrend. Any failure in that is called a downtrend. But the most important one is the sideways market, because that is a point wherein we are indecisive. That is a point wherein you are thinking about either an exit. That's also a point wherein you are also thinking as to whether you can average or not. So very, very important point. So the most important point is to identify these kind of trading ranges, so that identification will help you in making a decision as to what could follow later. Now, a couple of patterns. First is the continuation pattern. Continuation pattern refers to those patterns that happen in a trending market. As I just said, you have a downtrend, you have an uptrend, you have a sideways market. Once market move away from a sideways market, usually there is a directional move. Directional move, it means the move henceforth from that point will be sustainable for a longer period than the previously sideways market. And it will be, the expanse of that move will also be bigger. The range, in simple terms, if a stock has been moving in the 30 point, say 100 point trading range, and then that trading range is broken, usually we see a move that is much bigger than that. Usually it could be 150, 200, or maybe 500 point kind of move. That is a directional move. Now, how do you understand that as directional or not? For that, you look at couple of continuation pattern. That is evidence that a directional move can continue for a longer period of time. A flag, as the name denotes, it looks just like a flag. You have a pole here. Hope you can see my mouse moving. You have a pole here. This vertical line is a pole, and this is the cloth of the flag. So this is a flag, right? If this is a trend and market moves in parallel trend lines, normally for those who are not using or who are not able to understand, or who are not aware of the flag continuation pattern, would just imagine that possibly this downtrend has reversed. It is about to be over. That is one point. Second, maybe this has gone into a sideways movement. I don't know. Even the supports looks to be broken. So normal supports are not being taken. What kind of pattern this is, what kind of trend this is, I don't know. But for somebody who is aware of the flag pattern, can draw a parallel trending line supporting or connecting the lower levels and connecting the higher levels, he gets a flag. Spotting a flag is very important because it gives you the conviction to hold on to your prices which have been entered, or stock which have been entered at this level or prior to this level. He will not sell at any of these levels. He will not go short at these levels. He might even average at these levels. Maybe he doesn't have to average here. Once he gets a confirmation from a break of this region, maybe you can average there. This is how you build position. So decision making in terms of exit or entry, or let's say in terms of exit, or in terms of adding position, actually this is where you can average position. Normal investors, let's say fundamental logically oriented investors, usually they average. I think that's a normal concept of averaging. You average usually when prices come down from your initial level. If you bought it at 100, if you get if you see 80 level, that is a heck of a good buying level, because you are bringing your buying entry to 90 now. So that's a conceptual, that's a commonsensical kind of averaging. But in the trading realm, that averaging in effect means that a stock which you found good at 100 is not that good at 80. That's a normal trading concept. That good at 80, but you're still trying to buy at 80. So you're trying to buy a not so good stock. That's the general idea. It's a trading move. Now you have in a trading move, or those who are following this kind of patterns build on to these kind of breakout moves or these kind of continuation patterns, because they can exit the prices maybe before this whole investment. You're more than compounding, I would say. This averaging is actually tapering. Maybe you have bought 100, maybe you can add maybe 50 here, maybe under 20 here. You're not adding more than what you bought here. That's a general concept of averaging from a trading point of view. Anyway, you have n number of breakout here. So breakout happens after this level is broken. Here also you see a level broken out. The next pattern is wedge. Now the first one that we discussed is a continuation pattern. Now this one is a reversal pattern, right? Reversal pattern. The pattern is very easy to spot. You have narrowing, trend lines here. Trend endorses the pattern with a higher trading range, and the trading range narrows, and no time it moves to a point wherein it doesn't have much point to actually move further. It falls. It's a very simple trading pattern, but it's a very, very powerful pattern. It is not seen very usually. It usually happens at the end of a major downtrend or an uptrend. You see a rising wedge, and a rising wedge usually follows by a downtrend, and a falling wedge is usually followed by a strong uptrend. Triangles could be both. It could be a continuation formation. It could also be a reversal formation too. But we are looking at this as a continuation pattern. You have ascending triangle and descending triangle. When compared to symmetric triangle, they have a common base here. It's a right angle triangle. You can see that those are familiar with geometry. This is a right angle triangle. So you have an ascending triangle where prices are moving higher. You have a descending triangle when prices are falling lower, but there's a base here. When you don't have a base, and it is usually a continuation pattern. It's a very powerful continuation pattern than normal ascending or descending triangular patterns. Lastly, if there is request, I'll actually look at these kind of patterns in the trading actual chart system. But for the sake of completing this on time, I will quickly move on to a couple more indicators and then wind this up. Head and shoulder, one of the major reversal pattern, is a pattern in which you spot a small shoulder here. You have a bigger pattern that you can call as a head, and then there is a right shoulder. So this forms a head and shoulder pattern, a head and two shoulders. I think this formed in the month of June also. We had a significant head and shoulder pattern forming at around a 10,500 region. There was a brief fall, I think, after hitting 10,552. 552, I think market fell to almost 10,350 or so. That was a significant point because everybody thought this is the end of the reversal. But these kind of reversal pattern, after the downside objective is met, again there's a price reversal. That's precisely what we have. So here, usually this is a very commonly seen kind of pattern, and it is also quite easy to trade because you see this line is called as a neckline. Neckline is drawn using connecting the endpoints of these troughs. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can connect all these, you have a neckline. Why neckline is important? Because a break of this would mean a break of the head and shoulder pattern. This is the start of a downturn. This is the start of a downturn of a reversal pattern of a previous uptrend. So an uptrend, head and shoulder, and this reversal. This can be used as a sign of coming out of your existing buying position. Yeah. Lastly, we have now seen candlestick patterns. We have seen a couple of shapes and patterns like wedges, triangles, and now we are moving on to a couple of statistical tools. Last 1 or 2 statistical tools that can be added to your trading system. I just comment on a couple of them: oscillators and moving average. Moving average is a very simple concept. I would say that this is being used in any statistical application. Even in your normal office applications, you would be looking at moving averages. What it gives to the technical analyst is a sense of support. It's a sense of directionality. It's a sense of where the present stock is with respect to the recent n number of days. Let's say if the moving average, it is a 5-day moving average, it tells you where the present market is with respect to the last 5 days. Now it depends on your trading style to decide what kind of moving average period that you need to take. And as normal investors, even and technical analysts also look at 200-day moving average as an important milestone. When markets fall to 200-day moving average, usually there is a bounce back. When markets fall below, any stock or index falls below the 200-day moving average, usually it is followed by a sustainable downturn. Market is normally considered to be in a bear trend when a large number of stocks are below 200-day moving average. That's the importance of moving average. A small difference between a couple of types of moving average. It depends on the periodicity. It also depends on how fast indications of how fast these kind of moving average move. Exponential moving average is slightly more faster indicator than simple moving average. With that, I'm taking you to the concept of oscillators. Just as this GIF shows, we are looking at particular trading scenarios wherein markets are swinging from one low to a particular high, again coming back to that low, again going higher. That is an indecisive market, or in simple terms, you could call that as a sideways market. So those quick to identify where a particular uptrend is in, or uptrend or a downtrend is about to exhaust and is possibly moving into or having already moved into a sideways market, would be quick to scalp, or let's say skim some more profit by using these kind of oscillators. How do they use that? They once they identify that particular trend has moved into in a sideways market, they mark down the high and low. So they buy at a lower level. You already must have heard about people saying trading in market is not very difficult because you buy low and you sell high. Again, when it comes to low, and you buy and again sell at high. A level, this is a ridiculed concept, but for long-term investors, it applies. For traders who are using oscillators, again, it applies. Okay, so that's a point in which I should look at this oscillators, and I'll briefly look at one oscillator to get you an idea as to what it does. RSI moves between a high and low. That is, two statistics we have assigned two binding regions. Maybe it might be better that I show that in a particular chart. Let me show you it in Nifty. Yeah. Yeah, I put relative strength in this, that is RSI. So you can see two parallel trend lines. This is the range in which the indicator RSI is operating. So every time, if you see a trending market, if you see it, let's avoid the market that has been on for the last couple of months, because this has been largely on a directional move. An oscillating market time like this in the November, December, October to January period, market have been on a trading range. So every time markets have hit a high, you can see that every time this oscillators have gone to a peak, stocks started falling, and it went to a low. See, the stock started rising. So it has given at least 2 entry levels. When it falls down, when it hits a peak, say here also, you can see that this was a buying level. You could have bought at this level, and it went to a peak. You could have sold it at this level. When it came to the next bottom, again you could have bought. So buy, sell, buy, provided you have identified this as a oscillating market. Let me get back to the PPT now. Yeah. Yeah, the last one is MACD. You're looking at utilizing the concept of oscillation. You're also utilizing the concept of moving average. MACD, you don't have to get into the complicate or complexities of constructing all these kind of indicators, because if you use a simple charting system, even the one in Selfie or maybe Trading View, or if you have access to trading, Reuters or Bloomberg, everything is already constructed for you. But to give you an understanding of what is behind this MACD, because once you start using it, you will forget about it. But just to give you an understanding of what it entails, it utilizes moving averages. It has 2 moving averages. This is 12-day exponential moving average and a 26-day exponential moving average. Take the difference of it, and then you have MACD. MACD means moving average, convergence, divergence. Forget about the acronym expansion. Just remember it as MACD. So you have an MACD line that is it's a difference of an average of 2. Difference between 2 averages. Then you construct a 9-day EMA of the same average. So with that you have MACD line and signal line. So don't be discouraged by the complexity of all these things, because you have everything pictured in a very graphical way in most of the charts. Let us look at MACD now. You can see MACD. See, you have the signal line here, that's a red one. Then you have the MACD as the blue line. See, on March 23rd, you can see that the MACD, both signal and MACD line has been falling. There is no trade there, but there is a crossover of MACD on signal line. The blue line crosses the red line, and that is one point wherein you could have thought about buying. And this signal, you got it at 31st of March. Maybe you did not get it at 23rd or 24th. You did not pick the bottom of the market, but you could say that possibly a major uptrend could be in order. In a week's time, you had that confirmation. So what it remained was to get further confirmation from maybe other indicators, but you did not have to wait till say 10,000 or 10,500 to make up your mind. Maybe at least by 31st of March, or maybe even prior to that also, this signal was forming, because seasoned analysts will look at this kind of gap, the potential for breaking, and that's the reason why people are bought here. They are not magicians. They are just proper risk takers who have imagined that possibly this downtrend is over, is closer to exhaustion. Right. This I have put the graph as well. Right, you can see here, same that I have just mentioned. But what more? What what could be a better example than showing the recent reversal that we have picked through MACD? Yeah. All right, this brings me to the last slide of the day. So at the end of the day, what you need to keep in mind is that I have introduced you to a couple of candlestick patterns, made you understand the importance of identifying a couple of, identifying the shapes and the nature of those candlesticks, and embrace the right kind of patterns in your trading system. The important thing is you to have a trading system that is not cluttered by too many indicators. Don't put all the indicators that you have in your charting tool and complicate your decision making. Understand the candlestick, understand the moving averages a bit, have at least one or two moving averages. When a shorter moving average crosses below or above a longer moving average, that means a trend reversal is in place. Utilize that along with a particular maybe RSI, ROC, stochastics, CCI, a lot of oscillators that you have, MACD, even MACD on a regular basis. Get efficient, maybe gain experience with one or two oscillators, and then you will have a trading system. And lastly, the idea, this is not a finite science. This is a science, all right, but this is not a finite science. This is a case with any other field of science. This also needs an open-minded, a spirit of inquiry needs to be there. If you were to face failures, that would mean that possibly the decision making may have been not to the point, but the underlying point is, it is not about how much success you face in your trading system. It's about how much you manage with those successful moves. That's the most important thing, or the thought that I would want to leave you with. I think the 60-minute window that has been given to me is more than up now. And I think I'll leave the stage to the moderator to open the Q&A session. If we have, I'll check the Q&A window now. My formal session is over. I'm open for any Q&A if there is. I think my sound is visible. There were some comments on the sound not being visible. So now there is, I'll take one question here. What actions need to be taken? The question from Joseph sir, no, it is, he has asked the actions that need to be taken while stock rising, whether to sell partially, if so, on what ratio percentage to take profit at the time when it reaches a level. I can cover my loss or wait till it reaches 52-week high. Okay, 52-week high is one parameter that is available in all market website, even Money Control, even Geojit website, everywhere. I think in Selfie also you have the 52-week high. But that is not a fair indicator of price movement. Just because it has moved, a particular price has moved to a recent high doesn't mean you have to come out of your position. Never exit your profitable position cheaply. That's something that you need to keep in mind. Always try and see if there is more to be excused from a good position, because since you have formed your view, since you have your buying decision may have been taken after a good deal of research and analysis. So having spent so much of time, you should be sure that when you exit at profit, you have made enough. Now, how do you do that? I've already given you a couple of trading setup. When I said trading setup at the end of the session, my suggestion was that you could use the oscillators to identify whether it is a trending market or a side-based market. Now, if it stays above or close to 70 for a longer period of time, it is usually a an uptrending market, and if an RSI, if it is staying close to 70 for a longer period of time, is usually the indication that it is in a trending market. Second, you can use the ADX, that's a directional moving indicator that you can use as a sign of the directionality of the market. So once you have an indication from that, you should always be having a set of moving averages in your chart, which you can use as a guiding principle. It's a 10-day, 15-day, they are all used as a faster moving averages. If they break above your 60-day moving average, you should usually take it as a buying signal. But your question is whether you should come out with your existing position. Your question precisely was, how do I decide on holding on or exiting from a profitable position? My idea is usually prices for enter into a reverse when they break below particular a recent trading range. So one way of identifying the trading range is to draw parallel trend lines. I'm just going to take a Nifty trading chart, Nifty chart here, and all right, this is a period. Let's say let us look at the period prior to March, prior to January, when market was on a prior to that there was a major down uptrend, and then you saw a trading range. Yeah. See, this is a point, right? This is the trading range. I'm not sure where all the people would be able to have a proper trading system in their hand, but those who can manage and identify this as a trading range, obviously a break of this at this break of this happened on February 25th. By that, I think corona-related news have been slowly flowing in, but we were not convinced. But a technical analysis would see this as a break of trading range which has been holding the market for almost since November, December, January, February. 4-month-old trading range has been broken. That's almost a selling signal. Second is the usage of a very simple moving average. Let's say I'm going to put 60-day moving average. 16-day moving average, you have that was broken once. I think I'll put 100-day moving average. Yeah, right. 100-day moving average. This has held the price for almost through November through February. But the minute it broke on February, I think it broke even much below the particular trading range was broken. The minute it broke, I think this signal was received on 24th of February. So you didn't have to wait till the next day. The break of key moving average on 24th did give an example. It's a sign of possible downtrend in the market. So my point here is usage of trend line to identify a prior trading range, that is one, or to identify any exhaustion patterns. You can see that there's a small narrowing wedge being formed. You can see that the lower markets have, when Nifty has entered the range at a higher level, the range is huge, but it is narrowing. This is a pattern. So this is 1. 2, identification of trading range. 3, a break of a key moving average. So this is one way of identifying if a particular stock is it's time to exit or hold on to existing patterns. Another way of looking at is the presence of continuation patterns. For example, for somebody who has been holding on to Nifty long position, let's say he has bought it at 8,900 level, and this 8,900 is happened in May 2020, and then it has been going up. You're still long, and then market started reversing. But we were not all that pessimistic at this point, because you can see that this is a continuation pattern. This is a ascending triangular pattern that we had discussed. So you can see that the minute it broke above this region, there's very strong uptrend happening. So the presence of a continuation pattern is also a sign not to come out of existing position. Second aspect, if you are a chart practitioner, and suppose only very few people would be, we can see that if you can draw a Fibonacci chart, we can see that the downtrend that happened after this did not cross below even 50% of retracement. And that is also, I think it happened exactly from the 50%. So the retention of key retracement levels, the presence of continuation patterns, and it also helps your understanding of the prior trend or how generally markets behave. It also helps. It will also help to add on to your conviction, because if you have had targets of higher levels, which I had at the moment, you will also have conviction not to come out of this position. So these are the several ways identifying if it is in a range, look for presence of continuation patterns, look for key Fibonacci ratios. 50% is a very reliable level in terms of total exit. I think that is one way of looking at it here. There's a query on BTST. I think the BTST, if you're referring to the one that we have been recommending from our side, I think that may not be entirely useful for you, because we are looking at a normal trading move 2 to 3%. I think from your side, you should be getting somewhere close to 5% or more, which I am told, to cover your expenses. And even though our averages in the last June, July period has been more than say 5% on an average, I think it may not continue for a longer period. But the understanding is BTST, what we do from here is we recommend BTST stocks at 230. So the idea would be to how to handle BTST kind of approaches would be to take a fresh approach in everyday's market after 2 p.m. So our markets, we took whatever happened during prior to that, we forget. We plan for the next day, start planning for it from 2 p.m. itself. So pick and choose your stock in such a way that you will give it a window for, let's say, 1 to 2 days. That we don't give a window more than 5 days. That's the maximum time we give. So keep in mind that irrespective of what happens from a trader's point of view. I mean, my point is, what do you pick from a BTST point of view at around 2 to 230? That might be based on the trading move of the period just behind, which may not last beyond 5 days. So it's more about money management. Obviously, you need to apply some technical analysis, but BTST is more about money management, and try to make use of the opening move in the first hour or so. We usually try and trail our stop loss to closer to, say, our entry level, maybe a percentage closer to our entry level. This is the usual approach that we take. So the general idea, thumb rule would be give no more than 5 days for the BTST approaches. Approach that from a money management point of view. Second, try to execute the maximum profits in the first 1-2 hours. It may not be possible on every day, but assuming you have picked your stock well, ensure that you trail up your stop losses to maybe within 1%, if that is possible, 1% to your entry level. This is the general approach that we take. But most primarily, it is very important about how you pick the stock. We don't chase markets at 2 to 230. Just because the stock is rising doesn't mean that we follow it. But it so happens that some stocks, if they rise it after 2 p.m., it may continue the movement for the next 4 or 5 days, or it may at least give 5% or so in the next 1-2 days. So that's a surmise that we base our analysis on for the BTST. Second aspect is we also look at the stocks that have underperformed in a bullish day. So it depends on how you understand a particular day. If it is a day like Monday, in say 1 or 2 days, I think for the last 3 months, every Monday has seen sell-off. So Monday has been a very good day for BTST, because after Monday, stock have been rising for the next couple of days. So that has been the case for almost every day except for 1 or 2 Mondays. One of two Mondays we have seen rise on those days. We will avoid the BTST on those days, or maybe limit the number of buying recommendations on those days. These are all insights that you can use. There is no hard and fast rule. There is no straightforward approaches for the same. There was a comment from Mr. Johnson on explanation about candlestick body, which is small and big. It is not a complicated thing. If you're still on the chat and you can see my screen, I have a bar chart here. I'm changing it to candlestick. It is something that you can see very visibly. A bigger one is a bigger one, a smaller one is a small one. See, this is a bearish engulfing pattern. The candle is in the body. Look at the body. Body means the meaty portion, not the small shadow. The body is this. This is the body. This body is bigger than this. This is a small one. This is a big one. Here there is no body at all. Here there is no body at all. You call it the doji. Here the body is small, but the body is bigger here. The body is bigger here, which means at the end of this day, if it is on Monday, obviously it must have been on a Monday, you should have sold your position and bought back the other day. This is a bearish engulfing pattern because this has engulfed a bull day, which had been in a continuation, uppish continuation. We'll take a couple of questions. Some of the best way of doing research for a particular stock, I think I've more or less given you a broad guidelines as to how you can look at, use whatever I have said. But if you're looking for stuff beyond that, I think Market Mojo is one area. I think we have provided that through our website itself. You can also approach it directly. I think that is one place which has actually clubbed both of technical as well as fundamental aspects. You can at least that can act as a starting point. But purely technicals, I've already given you the general idea. Have a trading system. Use 1 or 2 oscillator, 1 or 2 moving averages, and their breakage. Try and learn drawing trend lines, identify the patterns that are formed in candlestick, just a couple of them, maybe hammer or hanging man or shooting star, a couple of them, that would suffice. Can you suggest, Mr. Jerome's question was, good website where I can learn technical of a stock online? I think stockcharts.com, if you go through that website, I think it's a very good, there is a number of web resources, but this is something that I had found to be a little authentic. Has been in the business for more than 10-15 years now. Stockcharts.com, I think that's an old website that I used to refer even earlier, but I think there are very good websites even now available. A Google search would give you several insights on the same, but if you can't, you can go through the stockcharts.com.
I think you can take the last question.
Yeah. All right. One last point, again, couple of patterns, examples of patterns. Day trading options. So Rand has already asked, day trading RSI and MACD for options might be very difficult because it is very fast moving. We can use that for stock trading options. I think ROC might be slightly better if you're looking at oscillators. But I think primarily you should not be using technical indicators on options per se. You can use that on stocks, but for options, I think you should look at proper derivative analysis. Look at Greeks, IV. Look at the open interest changes, look at expiry-related dynamics. Exactly, that's a main reason why, or maybe the time value precisely. That is something that we use theta, DK, theta value. So those are the important things that you need to use while trading option. But for those who doesn't have access to those kind of derivative analysis or don't have the resources or time to utilize that, I think utilize these technical analysis on the stock itself. Use a couple of oscillators, primarily ROC or MACD, and then and you don't look at it purely from a daily point of view. Reduce the time frame to maybe an hour's time, 60 minutes, or 240 minutes, or maybe 10 minutes, and see the changes, and then you look at options. That is one way that I look at on a regular basis. Yeah. I think our time is almost up. I'll leave the dice to questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Anand, for the wonderful session. I think you took us through the basics and into some of the analytical part of technicals. I think we all agree that it is a vast subject that we can talk about endlessly in terms of patterns and charting and analysis and trends. So maybe in the next sessions we will try to get into some more predictive models or analytical models, which will then make the clients in terms of understand how they can use these trends. And as such, like Mr. Anand mentioned, I think it's a lot of self-learning and direction that is also required from client's perspective to understand technical analysis. So it will be good if some of you can pick up the websites that you had mentioned to understand in terms of how technicals can be learned and understood in your trading activity. And of course, our dealers are there to help you in terms of market analysis. And if there are any specific queries, we'll always be glad to take it up and come back to you at the earliest. Thank you very much, Anand. I think we had close more than 200 participants at the peak level, and that shows the interest that people have shown towards technical analysis. And I take this opportunity to thank you once again for sparing your time to be with us today, and maybe look forward to some more sessions going forward. Thank you very much from Burjeel. Thank you.
In the last 25 years, the returns on various financial asset classes like bank deposit, gold, and real estate have multiplied several times. But there are a few select investments in the Indian capital markets that have had the potential to appreciate exponentially over 100 times. If you had known this at the right time, you would have taken the right investment decision, which is precisely why you need an expert's validated advice when it comes to investing. Welcome to Burjeel, one of the few SCA-approved financial intermediaries in UAE. We are wealth builders, guiding customers since 2001. We have serviced over thousands of them till date, and today we cater to large segments across investor groups. This speaks about our enormous goodwill and their undiluted trust. And we have earned that trust by telling, not selling. We educate you on the investment opportunities that are ideal for you. We then help you make an informed decision, impartial and unbiased, keeping your long-term goals in mind. And with us, everything is long-term, be it commitment, relationships, or success. We offer comprehensive insights across a wide range of products through a holistic approach. We ask you the most important questions, the answers to which will help you focus on your investment objectives. For example, you work for over 30 years. Are you saving enough for the next 30 years? For life goals like children's education, your daughter's wedding, or your retirement. Think about it. You work hard to earn your money. Does your money work hard enough for you? Burjeel, let's build your future. Come, let's talk.